Hi all. Hello. Okay, before we get started, quick question. How many people feel like they know all there is to know about balayage and baby lights? By a show of hands. Okay, put your hands down. How many feel like, by a show of hands, how many people feel like I can know a little more? Okay, perfect. Thank you for taking the time out and sitting in the class with me. Thank you for feeling like you don't know it all and you could use a little more room to know something else. My name is Trinace. I've been a hairstylist for over 15 years, based in New York City. I've literally done every mistake there is possible on both techniques. But thankfully with RedKen, you learn better to earn better, to live the way we want. So today, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be showing you some tips and tricks on balayage and baby lights. I know us being professional stylists that we get used to the techniques that we use throughout the years and feel like, well, if it's not broke, why fix it? True, but if it's a way to earn more money and get a better look at something, then why not? Exactly. So today what we're gonna go over is balayage and baby lights. We're gonna talk about how the sun reflects it. Why do we need balayage? Why one client may want baby lights. We're also gonna show how placement can change everything. Before I get started, I can show you something that is already done. Unfortunately, the natural light is dark outside, so the natural light is not reflecting how I'd like it to. But if you see a nice face frame around the balayage area, and on this side is just some baby lights, lightly highlighted, just a peekaboo here. And here you have the face frame. And what I did use for her, I used Pro Oxide 30 volume with up to 7 flash lift. And then after we rinsed it out, I used the RedKen Brown Highlights shampoo and conditioner. And then I used RedKen Leave-In All Soft Mega for curls. I love this. Completely revived her curls, kept the integrity, as you can tell. And I just love her curly hair. I love how the highlights just give that peekaboo effect here. And then here you have that lightening around her face frame. And so today, I'm gonna be working with her. Say hi. And I'm gonna be working in these two sections here. This side will be my balayage side, and this side will be my baby light side. With the technique that I'm gonna use for the balayage side is the modern technique. I'm going to be taking, if you look up here, I'm going to be separating the hair between horizontally, and I'm going to slide this to the back because I'm not going to highlight that area. I'm going to be working with, as you see me, I'm going to turn it here. I'm going to be working with this area here. Now, I do understand that I am taking up your time, but as I'm teaching you, I do want you to learn and be able to take it in. So it is your responsibility that if you can't see, move closer. If you can't hear, let me know and I'll speak louder. I want you to get as much from this class as I'm giving. In the midst of the class, you may hear outbursts of, woo! Let's give ourselves a round of applause for just standing all day. But we need that because as hairstylists, we're on our feet all the time. A little encouragement can go a long way. So, as I said, I'm moving this to the back. And let's just make a promise here that when I say, woo, you say, hey, woo, hey, okay? Just to keep the energy going. Sometimes we get a little tired and a little drowsy, but we got to keep the energy going, okay? Make sure that the mind is awake and processing all that is taking in because it is a lot. Sometimes it can be a lot. And sometimes you feel like, oh, I know this already. But when you go behind the chair and you start to do it, you realize, maybe I should have listened. So let's just take heed to the fact that we don't know it all. And that today we're just going to learn something new. And if you already know it, then enhance it. Okay, so to get started, I've already taken out this bottom half because I'm going to work with this top half. And the way I am going to do the balayage modern technique, as I said, we can look from this angle right here. I'm going to take diagonal slices and I'm going to over direct the hair to the back to this piece here, wrapping the hair around this piece to stay out of my way. So I'm going to show you in a sec. Just want you to get a little visual. Not working with this area here. Working with this section up here. Diagonal slices. As the hair falls like this naturally, I'm going to be painting back. This way I can get a gradient style of the color to lay for it to lay. She does already have some highlights right in the front, so I am going to be working with right behind her section, just kind of enhancing the colors right in here. So again, diagonal sections, diagonal subsections. Once I make the subsections, excuse me, I'm gonna go back in and let you see the next step. Right from here, so I like to work with the eye. Of course, I do not want to touch her with this comb if I've already touched bleach. But in the event that you didn't and you kind of just need that guide, you can start right there and just bring it back. Now, mannequins don't give the cleanest parting, but now that I have that diagonal section, I can move this out of my way. And now I'm just gonna take 1-inch sections right in between here. So 1 inch is about, it's about an inch. About an inch. Just gonna curve that out. That to the side. I'm gonna hold the hair at a 45-degree angle. And I'm gonna take my brush and lightly sweep. I will be using a paddle to help with the saturation, because I want to start right in zone 2, which is the mid-length area, bringing it down to zone 3, but sweeping upwards towards zone 1 lightly. Trying not to reach all the way up to zone 1, but sweeping upwards towards it. Okay? So now we're going to put that in practice. Give me 1 sec. And as I said, I'm using the up to 7 lift with the Pro Oxide 30 volume. And you can use cotton. I do have some cotton pieces to help separate and keep that separation between the face and the hair while we get towards the front, as well as between the highlights. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to take it at a 45-degree angle. Getting these flyaways out of my way. Holding with some tension. Excuse me, let me grab my paddle. I'm going to put a little bit of color on my paddle so that it can have some saturation on that bottom piece slightly. And now I'm just going to go in heavy in the mid-length to the bottom, and the paddle will help me bring down the color and help me with the saturation. And sweeping lightly up, making a gradient effect, keeping my hair at a 45-degree angle. Slight elevation. Making sure not to hit all the way up to the top, but saturating the mid to ends. I saw a little bit of a harsh line, so I'm just gonna sweep that out, balayage that out. Bring it down. Now that I have that piece, I'm going to bring this to the back and wrap it ever so nicely around this piece. I do have a covering of protection so that this doesn't get colored. And I am going to take a piece of cotton. See this here touching? Just going to lift that up so you can see. Separating that and then bringing it back. This will avoid the color, the bleach, from getting onto an area that I don't want to be colored. Okay, moving on to the next section. Putting the bleach back onto my brush, recharging my brush. I'm gonna call her Sherry. Sherry, just lean your head to the side, thanks. And I'm gonna take another inch piece right here. Tension, getting this here out of my way. Making sure that my paddle has some saturation as well. Placing the hair directly on top of that saturation and going in heavily in zone 2, sweeping down to zone 3 to make sure that saturation is there. Bringing it back up and sweeping up towards zone 1. Are you guys able to see that? Okay. If not, you feel free to come closer. I don't bite. But just make sure that the strand is saturated fully. And as I said, we're gonna bring that to the back, wrap it around the anchor that is fully protected, and move on to your front piece. Okay. Same thing, let me recharge my paddle and brush, making sure it's saturated fully. Placing it down, starting in zone 2, saturating all the way down, all the way down. And this is the money piece right in the front, so I definitely want to make sure that my 45-degree angle is there, and I'm sweeping up ever so gently because I definitely want a softness right around her face, so that when it does grow out, it's not this just blunt line between the new growth and her highlight. Okay. And I'm gonna bring that back over my cotton safely. And I'm gonna move on to the next subsection. And we're just gonna do that all the way up. Just for my sanity, I am gonna sit a piece here because I'm going to separate this next subsection in another diagonal way. So that hair that I'm not using, I don't want that to touch the other pieces, the bleach pieces, excuse me. Take it. Take this section out. Okay. And I'm going to take another piece of cotton just to keep that separate. And now I'm going to take my piece again. Recharge my brush and paddle. And following the same technique, because I'm in a higher section, the hair section, the subsection is now going to be raised to slightly above 45 degrees, slightly above, but I'm still going to bring it back down to 45 degrees with the help of my paddle, saturating zones 2 and 3. Okay, and now let's sweep up. And I am going in between my point of light. I am alternating between a V point and a left back. Just because in certain areas of the head, the sun does reflect differently. So in the crown area, it may not reflect the way it does on the side. So I don't want that to affect how the color sits on the client. So I'm gonna do one more example, one more face frame. And as I said, she has some highlights already, but it's okay. We're just gonna work right around those and enhance those sections where the highlight has grown out and faded. I do understand that you guys are pressed for time. So after this section, I'm gonna start on the other side with the baby lights. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask me. And if you wanna just wait till after class and see me after class, that also is fine too. I do understand clients do not like to be waiting. Okay, same technique with the paddle. Saturated my paddle, recharge my brush. Started at zone 2, bringing it down to zone 3. Sweeping upwards towards zone 1. And towards the face, I do like to go a little bit higher. Softly, still softly. And then getting a heavier down here. Okay. And I am going to just wrap this up to keep it out of the way of the bleached sections. And now we're going to just turn Sherry over to the other side for our baby lights. Baby lights. Let me just move her out of the way. Excuse me, Michelle. Okay, baby lights. A subtle highlight. It's microfiber thin, like micro paper, like very thin sections of the hair, foiled in foils. This is for those that are just coming into hair, those that saw an old childhood picture and now said, oh, I want my hair to be like that again. So the people that don't want to completely change their look, but just give a pop of color. This is what baby lights will help you do. Okay, I'm going to turn her all the way around towards me. If you guys need to see better, you know what? Actually, I'll just come over on this side. I'm a lefty, so excuse my discombobulation right now. Okay. And as I said, with baby lights, we're going to take really small sections of the hair and put them in foils. I'm just going to take a couple of foils. If I was doing a whole head, I'd section off this right here. I'd section off the crown area. I'd make a horseshoe parting all the way back to from the corner right above the eye. If you look at the arch of the eyebrow, right here, above the parietal bone. We're gonna bring it all the way back to the crown. And we're gonna move this out of our way. Okay. Now we're gonna section this left section here. I'm just gonna comb it out just so it's easier for me to work with. Now that we have this vertical parting, we have a vertical parting here, sectioning the front from the back, sectioning this below section to the crown here. And we're going to be working with this left section right here. Okay. We're going to take very thin slices. I'm going to actually move up a bit so you can see. Very thin slices. Like this may even be too thick. So I'm gonna go back in. And you can do weaving slices or you can do full slices. That is your preference. Just make sure it's extremely thin. So if I took a bigger section here, moving this out of my room. With a lot of tension closer to the root. This is to make sure that you have stability, tension, and now we can, our paper thin micro pieces. I am doing weave sections. And as you see, it's very thin, very thin. You can see right through it. This should definitely lift evenly because it's so thin. Some people like to put color on the foil because it's so thin, it slips a lot. That is a preference. I'll show you in the next section with bleach on the foil already. And I am gonna try not to get too harsh right at the top. Number one, we don't want hot roots. Number two, we want a seamless grow out. You want it to look as natural as possible. One of the benefits with baby lights is the fact that it gives a really natural dimension. So that's what we're gonna do here. And so I'm gonna pre-wet my foil. Just to show an example of how that's done. I'm gonna take another baby slice, weaving, big section. Get that out of your way. Then we're gonna take a very micro thin section from the bigger subsection. Okay. Do you see how thin this is? It's so thin, I feel like the mannequin had no hair in that area. Okay. So I'm gonna take my foil, my pre-wet foil, to help the hair stick to it. Place it down. Grab my brush. And we're gonna apply. It did help keep the foil in place. But it is a preference all the more. And as I said, as I get closer to zone 1, towards the root, I'm just gonna lightly sweep in that area so it's not such a harsh line distinction between the two. You really want a natural flow of the color. Okay. I'm gonna give one more example, and this time I'm going to do a straight section, instead of weaving. I'm just gonna give a straight section. so that we can see that it's really no difference as long as the section is thin. Big section. Getting this out of my way. And these highlights will lay right around her face. So it'll brighten up her face as well, but not too much. It's not too much where she's like, even though if you've never had color before, you may get that reaction. I mean, color is color. A little pop of light may change somebody. Okay, so again, paper thin, and this was just a straight line, no weaving. And I'm going to take my foil. I am going to wet my foil. It is very helpful. Grabbing my section, placing my foil. Secured. And now to apply. And it's really simple. Very similar to what we already know. But just a little helpful trick of wetting the foil to keep that stability. Sweeping upwards right at the top. Making sure that the highlights continue to be subtle around the root. Okay. And now we let her process for the finished result. So we only got through 3 foils here and 3 sections here. We are coming to a close. I do see your clients coming in, but I do want to say thank you, and I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you can take some of these techniques and use them, and I hope that you learn better so that you can earn better, so that you can live the life that you want to live. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.